Kia ora everyone, welcome to the ACE RMO 2026, I cannot believe I'm saying that, but the 2026 Gisborne Hospital webinar. My name is Sam and I am the ACE RMO consultant. So today we're going to start off with an opening karakia by Dr. Robert Wong Toi, and then I will give everyone a brief outline of today's webinar.
Karakia tātou, whakatakata hau ki tūru, whakatakata hau ki te tonga, kia makinukinu ki juta, kia mātaratara ki tai. E hiaki ana te atukura, e tio, e huka, e auhu, tihei, muriora. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to join today's webinar. It really is great to have you all here. Before we move into the panelist introductions, I just wanted to give you a brief outline of what you can look forward to this afternoon. So firstly, we will start off with a video introduction, and then our panelists will take you through a very informative presentation covering some really key information about their district and opportunities available. And you will also be able to hear directly from district representatives who will be able to share their experiences working at the hospital and what can be expected on a day-to-day basis. A lot to look forward to. Towards the end of the session, we will have a live Q&A session. So this is really a great opportunity to ask questions, and then we will finally close off with a closing karakia. So just a reminder about the questions. There is a chat box or a Q&A box at the top of your screens, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions throughout the webinar. But just to note that we will take a moment towards the end to go through them and answer all of those.
Kia ora, I'm Steve Hudson. I'm a general surgeon in Gisborne and I'm the director of clinical training. So I'm sort of involved with the health officers a bit.
Kia ora, I'm Monique. I'm one of the 2 RMO coordinators here in Gisborne. Kia ora, I'm Hayley. I'm a first year health officer in Gisborne.
Kia ora, I'm Robbie. I'm one of the PGY2 health officers and I spent my last year as a first year in Gisborne as well.
Great, thank you so much. And again, a really big thank you for having you here today. I do understand that capacity and time is very, very precious. So we really do appreciate having you here and being able to share all this information with our next cohort of graduates that's applying through ACE RMO. And you can all sit back and relax and enjoy a really great video.
I think you should apply here because I think it's a really supportive environment, especially for a first year working, having a space where you know everyone, you know all the consultants and your seniors who can support you through like the easy and difficult cases. I think that's just a really good way to transition into clinical practice.
So what I've learned when I started as a PG1 in Gisborne Hospital, so working in a smaller hospital definitely has a steeper learning curve, and the way you get hands-on experience is much more time where you can get the hands-on experience compared to the other bigger hospital where you will be in a small cog and you have the less of the hands-on experience and more of the paperwork. So one of the benefit of working in Gisborne Hospital, have a direct communication with the SMO, really good sets of colleagues, and also can bring anyone in the hospital when you are in trouble, and as long as you know your stuff, nobody will be grumpy at you, and you can get direct learning experience from SMOs.
So for me, the best part about Gizzy is how tight-knit all the staff are. So we're a really small hospital here, and everyone knows everyone, and you're on really friendly terms and first name basis with all the staff. And it really just breaks down the traditional hierarchy system that you see in a lot of hospitals, both between us as junior doctors and the senior staff, senior doctors, and also between other colleagues in different professions. And so that kind of just makes it a really welcoming and supportive environment that's really great to learn and work in.
The culture in Gizzy is unique because Gisborne or Tairāwhiti is essentially has 50% population Māori, So it's really cool to be able to directly serve your communities, which is something that inspired me to come here because I have always wanted to do that throughout my career. Coming from Wellington, there is a much more diverse culture, but I think it is very special in Gisborne because, you know, the communities that have given you so much throughout your life, you can finally give back to directly. I also think it's special because I think a few other people in the video would have said this, but everyone in the hospital knows your name. And your face is plastered on the walls on your first day, so it's really cool that everybody else in the hospital knows who you are and you get to know who they are, and we're a quite close-knit community, so come here.
I was most nervous about putting my name on things, like putting my name on scripts, on notes, on discharge summaries and you don't really have someone looking over your shoulder all the time. But I found here in Gisborne, it's a very supportive environment. Everyone's always ready to talk, ready to listen, ready to answer your questions. And it takes time, but slowly you need less and less help, but it's always there here in Gisborne for you if you need it.
Fortunately, I grew up in Gisborne, so I was really looking forward to returning here to work as a house officer. But I'd also heard really positive things from other previous house officers that had worked here regarding the culture at Gisborne Hospital. And yeah, I was pleased to see that when I turned up, it was a really good place to work. Hey! Maybe.
Tapa, nunua tapa, tapa ko nunua koe ana tupua. Tapa rea tapa, nunua tapa, ko nunua koe ana tupua. Ka hawi runga, ka hawi raroa, ka hawi te manawa, tapu tanga manawa. First place to see the sun, te taira pity is always on. Best be ready for the time of your life. Cruising down the highway 35. Here we naughty, no porter dani. Te ko te kuzi, te wena, te hua kuapanui.
So this is just a quick introduction into Gisborne Hospital and an overview of Gisborne and our hospital. Tairāwhiti, which means the coast upon which the sun shines and across the water. Our boundary up northways goes to Matawai, south to Nuhaka and Hicks Bay to the east. The Gisborne population from the 2023 to 2025 census is 51,315 to 57,200, which consists of 52.4% New Zealand European, 54.8% Māori, 4.5% Pacific, 3.8 Asian and 1.6 other. Gisborne's famous for being the first city in the world to greet the sunrise each day, and it definitely lives up to that bright reputation. With golden beaches, epic surf breaks and a warm, laid-back vibe, it's a paradise for ocean lovers and sunshine seekers. We're rich in Māori culture and history, and we're known as one of the first landing sites for Captain James Cook in 1769. Gisborne blends a deep heritage with creative energy, add an award-winning Chardonnay, vibrant festivals and a strong arts and music scenes, and you've got a region that feels both inspiring and refreshingly down to earth. Gisborne Hospital, we're the main public hospital serving the Tairāwhiti Gisborne district on the East Coast region of New Zealand's North Island. The hospital and wider services are under Te Patawater Tairāwhiti or Health New Zealand Tairāwhiti and provide care for people living across the region from beyond Hicks Bay in the north to down in the Wharirata Ranges in the south, covering the entire Gisborne district area. We're a rural, smaller hospital with 110 beds. About 100 kilometres north of Gisborne on the east coast, we have Te Puia Hospital, which is a small rural hospital. Gisborne Hospital focuses on community-oriented care, a strong local workforce, focus on rural health care. We offer maternity and family care, and we are part of the University of Otago trainee intern medical student program, and we're quite well known for our hands-on experience. Our ACE process and selection criteria. Our ranking panel consists of our Chief Medical Officer, Najat, 2 pre-vocational education supervisors, a local GP, RMO coordinators, and Steve is the DCT as well. We don't interview in our process, so a cover letter is really important to us, detailing who you are, why you'd like to choose Tairāwhiti, your personal interests and your career interests as well. So really sell yourself to us in that cover letter. Also good to note whether you've got any local connections to Gisborne, you've been a trainee intern with Gisborne Hospital, whether you've got any Te Reo Māori knowledge or understanding, and 2 references, which preferably be hospital. So our PGY 1 and 2 attachments. PGY 1, we've got 5 general medical PGY 1 house officers. 4 of those are ward-based, and 1 of them covers the rehab day unit, medical day unit, and mental health unit. The rehab medical day unit and mental health house officer swaps over halfway through the quarter to then move into ward-based. General surgery, we have 4 of those, and they also cover the subsects that you see there: lithotripsy, urology, gynecology, adult dental and eyes, and we have 2 orthopedic ENT house officers. So because we've only got 3 different services that you would cover as a PGY 1, you would either repeat a quarter of general surgery or general medicine. Our PGY 2 attachments, we've got 1 that does anaesthetics and ED, 2 community-based attachments in a general practice, which there's 3 different general practices that they span over, which would be in 1 of those general practices for the whole quarter. And then we have a combined public health and rural general practice run, 2 emergency departments, 2 peds, and 3 relief, which covers over ED, medicine, orthopedics, peds, and surgical. PGY 3+, registrars or senior house officers. We have 7 that work in ED. We're a rural hospital medicine accredited or non-training. For ED in medicine, we have 9. 1 of those can be an advanced trainee or basic training. 2 obstetrics and gynecology, which are non-training, 1 part-time, so 0.8 FTE ophthalmology, non-training, 2 orthopedics, I believe are non-training as well, psychiatry, non-training, 2 of those, and 2 surgical, which 1 is training and 1's non-training. Leave and roster in the house officer teaching program. So PGY 1 roster, here in Gisborne, no nights in your first year, which is a good bonus. 10 days off and 4 days off when you're working both of the weekend days. So your rostered days off would be attached to a weekend. So you'd get that 4 days off, and you get rostered to about 11 evening shifts per quarter in your PGY 1 year. Annual leave. So we try and accommodate your leave as best we can when we write the roster. Weekends on or off, we get people attaching their annual leave to rostered days off, which can work quite nicely. Then you get, a bit more time off to enjoy. We try to be as flexible as we can with short notice or advanced leave requests. We're pretty flexible where we can be. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, but we're more than happy to sit down and figure things out together to make it best for everybody.
The MEL leave is medical education leave, which basically you don't get as a first year. It's more of a second year thing. And mostly what is supported is the POCUS courses and the basic course and the APLS course. But we also do try and get, if people want to go to the GSSE course in Dunedin, then we really make an effort to try and get people to that. Because it's longer, it is a bit more difficult. And so you kind of need to plan in advance for that regarding what run you're going to be in and stuff. And there's also a diploma of child health, which is done through the pediatrics department. And so again, in your PGY 2 year, you'd spend a couple of quarters in peds and do the diploma. Yeah, so your MEL leave gets approved by me, and I sort of say whether it's appropriate, and then as long as we've got the rostered space, then it gets ticked off by the RMO unit, and then the chief medical officer does have a look at it as well, just to make sure that it's not too costly. If someone's spending like tens of thousands of dollars, then then that obviously might get looked at. Pre-vocational educational training committees. So that's basically myself and the CMO and the RMO unit and the PESs. We sort of get together once every couple of months and just make sure everything's running smoothly. There's no particular issues. And there's a PGY 1 and 2 representative at that meeting as well. So that's part of how we run things. We have weekly PGY 1 formal teaching. So there's a protected hour of teaching at Tuesday lunchtimes, which we run a sort of formal training program. So that's in addition to your grand round and any sort of ward-based teaching that's going on. In the PGY do 2 teaching. There's registrar and departmental training involved available for them.
Cool. So we're just going to give you a wee day in the life of our 2 house officer representatives.
Hi again, I'm Hayley. I'm the PGY 1, so first year house officer. I'm just coming to the end of my first attachment in general medicine, so I can only really speak about that. But the first question, why did I pick Gisborne or Tairāwhiti Hospital? I'm a little bit biased. I'm from Gisborne. I grew up here, I went to school here. I also did my TI year here, and everything just that, especially my TI year, being here really just confirmed that this is the place I wanted to be. My family and friends are here, so I'm a little bit biased in that sense. But speaking to the other house officers, I'm sure you've seen on that video at the beginning, it's not just people that are from here that love it. The general consensus is that it's a great place to be. It's got lovely beaches, it's tight-knit community, not having that high-paced city life and when you leave the hospital is quite nice when you need to just wind down. Those are my reasons why I picked Gisborne, especially from my experience as a TI. You really got to see where you would fit in and as a first-year house officer and the opportunities that you're able to have. And so that is why I picked Gisborne. What my experience of my attachment so far. So as I said, I've only come to the end of my first attachment in the general medical ward, so I haven't experienced any of the other attachments. I'm going to surgery next. For medicine, I was pleasantly surprised. I was dreading it, but it was actually a really great learning experience. You're really well supported in the general medical department. They've actually increased the number of teams, so there's another team as opposed to it was in previous years, so the load is a bit more evenly across. In general medicine, because there's no subspecialties within the hospital, you do get to see a broad exposure to various cases, whether that's cardiac or respiratory or gastro. They all come under general medicine. They don't go to the subspecialties. So you do get to see a lot of interesting cases and get to learn a lot. With that as well, there is the consultants that are on the medicine ward, at least. Some of them are subspecialty trained as well. So they have that expert knowledge and they share that with the team. If one team has a very respiratory focused patient, they can consult the respiratory physician and ask for their advice about that, and it's really great learning. In terms of what surprised me the most, I think definitely the learning curve. I guess that's wherever you are as a first year doctor, it's a really steep learning curve in that first couple of months, but it was really easy here. It was very supportive, especially not just supportive with your seniors, like they're very approachable. You can call them and they're supportive if you have any concerns or questions. But the nurses, the physios, OTs, everyone's so approachable. Everyone wants to help you. Everyone knows you by first name. So it makes everything a whole lot easier than it could be. What also surprised me is the opportunities you get to do procedures, especially. And I didn't expect to have I knew there was going to be a step up in responsibility, but I didn't think it was going to be being included in so much clinical decision making. So on ward rounds, the consultant more often than not, will ask you what you want to do for your management plan. And that might be in front of the patient, or you might leave the patient and they'll ask you for your management plan, and they really get you thinking instead of just being there scribe and doing jobs in the background. And as well as that, I've had opportunities to do procedures like a fluorocentesis with support of a respiratory physician within the second month of being here. And I know other house officers have had great opportunities to do procedures like that if they're that way inclined. So if you are keen, the senior doctors are really good at supporting you to learn and have those opportunities. It is a small hospital, so there are constraints in terms of resources, and you can sometimes be frustrated and when you want to do something, but you can't because it's the constraints of living in a very isolated area that sometimes the helicopter can't go out, but that's, I guess, comes with being in a place like this and just doing the best that you can. A typical day for me, so on medicine, I would get in a little bit early and jump on the computer and update our work list. So going on at to our team's work list and adding any bloods or anything that needs to be done if anything happened overnight. Organising the list and heading up to handover at 8 o'clock with all of the medical consultants and registrars. There's 5-minute teaching every morning at handover, so it's a great learning opportunity. Every morning someone from the department will teach for 5 minutes before you head off and do your ward rounds, and then ward rounds go on sometimes, usually till midday, sometimes a bit longer, but generally you get done pretty early, and then the rest of the day you're just doing jobs, whether that's referrals, discharges, attending acute calls, as well as that there is lots of teaching that actually surprised me as well. The amount of teaching that is scheduled in general medicine. So as well as what Steve and Monique talked about before about the house officer teaching that we get on medicine, there's Monday teaching is journal club. Everyone gets a go at presenting a journal club to the department. On Tuesdays there's grand rounds, which we go through all the medical patients and discuss interesting cases. Wednesday is a cardiology meeting, so we discuss cardiology cases with the cardiologists, and otherwise that sometimes is M&M. And then as well as that, there's a hospital grand rounds that is on Wednesday as well. So there are really good teaching opportunities that really surprised me. I didn't realise it'd be so much. And yeah, then we get ready to hand over to the evening house officer at about 4 o'clock.
Kia ora. So I'm Robbie. I'm one of the PGY2s here in Tairāwhiti. I did my PGY 1 year in Gisborne, but I spent my 3 years of ALM in a big tertiary centre. And coming out from there, I decided that I wanted to work somewhere a bit smaller, somewhere that was a lot more hands-on, and somewhere where you get to making clinical decisions and having opportunities to refine some procedural skills, which is not something that you always get to do right at the start of your career. I'm from Rotorua, so I wanted to come somewhere similar, and Te Tairāwhiti's a really beautiful region. It's got such a high Māori population, but there's also a lot of health inequity here, so I wanted to come somewhere where I could make some really meaningful connections with patients in their whānau and try work towards addressing some of these inequities. It surprised me how many people that you start to learn, and the relationships that you can form with these patients, and how much they can trust in you and the medical team, and how much you can change the overall outcome. Some of these patients are from up the coast and have avoided a lot of hospitals, so them coming into hospital is quite a big deal for them. And so being able to make that transition into the healthcare system a lot smoother and make it a positive experience has been a really, really awesome thing to be able to be part of. I wanted to pick Tairāwhiti as well because if you've got any interest in pursuing a surgical career, to learn any procedural skills, you have a lot of opportunities to do that, not only on the ward but down in theatre as well. So I would say that it's got a really good balance with the ward workload in comparison to other bigger centres with larger amounts of patients in the ward. So there's plenty of opportunities to get down to theatre, and that can be watching, that can be scrubbing in, and sometimes they'll ask you to come down and help hold a camera, and you've got opportunities to do closings, to practice your suturing. When I was a PGY1, I got to do an orthopaedic run, and as part of that it was week on towards week in theatre. So you were scrubbing in and assisting in joint replacements, trauma, and some more minor elective procedures, and as you get a little bit of familiarity, the consultants can be really understanding and really supportive and learning, and let you do quite a few of these things, which is really awesome. So I did a couple surgical runs last year, an orthopedic run and a medical run. Other things that surprised me, I know it's been touched on quite a lot already, but how close-knit the hospital can be, and the relationships that you can develop with your colleagues. I was pretty surprised in the first few weeks that we weren't allowed to call our bosses by their last name. It's all first name basis, which is really cool. I was quite surprised because I knew coming to a small centre, the opportunity of challenge and being thrown into the deep end, I was surprised at how well supported it was. If you start to feel uncomfortable, if you don't want to do certain things, everyone's so understanding. So there's a lot of autonomy in how much you want to do. If you put your hand up and say you want to do these things, you get to do some really, really cool things, and there's great opportunities. But if you reach where you're comfortable with, everyone takes over from there, and it's really well supported. Currently on my anaesthetics run at the moment, so I come in, I can choose what sort of theatre that I want to go into, and they run a few different types of surgical specialties throughout the day, morning and evening, afternoon lists. so I can choose that. Work with a range of different anaesthetists who have been teaching me heaps about physiology, procedural skills, learning to manage airways, and then also getting to attend acute trauma calls and managing critically ill patients. And that's quite a unique opportunity you get here in Gisborne. Not every hospital is a second year you get to hang out with anaesthetists and be doing airways and things like that, so that's really awesome. What everyone says is really true. It is a really small place where everyone gets to know each other. It's really tight-knit, really well supported, but lots of opportunities and lots of really unwell patients coming in with all sorts of comorbidities and really unaddressed health system issues. So it's somewhere where you can do some really awesome mahi.
So I'm originally from Gisborne too. What made me come back to Gisborne? Well, I came back twice. So I came back as a health surgeon and back in the day, there were only 10 house officers here and you could only stay for 1 year. So I did my year back in 2000 and then I left and did surgical training, and then I came back in 2013. And I came back because I like Gisborne. It's a good climate, and I like the fact you can get around Gisborne really fast. Like, most people, it takes them 5 or 10 minutes to get home, and it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to get back to work. And, parking's really not an issue here. You don't have to pay. So getting into the ward probably take you, 15 minutes from your house, likely, or less. That's it seems like nothing, but, if you're used to taking 45 minutes to get into hospital, it's a whole another hour every day that you've got for yourself. I wanted to have my family in Gisborne, so I think the fact that the beach and the surf club and sort of the outdoor lifestyle in Gisborne is somewhere where I wanted that for my kids. So that was another reason that I came back. And I like the fact that it's a bicultural society. Yeah, it's what I grew up with, and I feel comfortable in that. So I came back for that too. Gisborne Hospital's point of difference, I guess, is that, like it's been talked about already, we're a small hospital and we're close knit, but we're also very isolated. There aren't many hospitals. Probably only Westport would be as isolated as Gisborne, and even Westport is close to drive to the nearest tertiary centre. I think we're the most geographically isolated hospital in Gisborne, in New Zealand. That makes it interesting to work here as a consultant. You really have to be willing to deal with whatever comes through the door and be a bit adaptable. And that means, and because we don't have a lot of specialties just down the road, we get to work with a wide sort of spectrum of general surgery and plastics and a bit of ENT and a bit of neurosurgery and a bit of cardiothoracic surgery and sort of a bit of everything. I am the pre-vocational director of education and training and do teaching sessions. And I like the doctors because I find the transition really interesting and kind of fascinating how medical students come into PGY1 and they are really green and really not confident usually over the course of 18 months to 2 years. It's an amazing kind of growth. It's fun to be part of that.
So why come to the first city to see the sun? You've got a great opportunity here in Gisborne for hands-on clinical experience across a broad range of presentations. We've got a small city feel with a strong sense of community, really tight-knit social connections like everybody's said as well. Ideal for building personal and professional networks. It's a great place to work, not just clinically. The RMO coordinator is pretty special too.
Oh yeah, didn't mention that.
We're a compact city with minimal commute, like Steve said, means more downtime for you, for your self-care, for your friends and for your family. Free parking, we're one of the very few hospitals to have this. Great weather, especially in summer. Check out our summer temperatures. We've got thriving local culture, cafes, vineyards, festivals like Rhythm and Vines over New Year's, arts and a strong sense of regional identity. We've got a relaxed coastal lifestyle with access to beautiful beaches right at your doorstep. And like Ralph Waldo Emerson said, live in the sunshine, swim in the sea, and drink the wild air.
Are you able to give any sort of insights on, is it easy to find accommodation? Where are the best places to be looking? And I know it might be tricky or difficult to answer, but if you had any sort of average accommodation costs that they may be expecting.
It's pretty famous for the doctors to all live out at the beach. There's a pretty awesome beach. We call it far out of town. It's about a 10 or 15 minute drive from the hospital, Wainui Beach. Pretty famous for the house officers to get together and hire out a house somewhere between 150 to 200 a week if it's a reasonable sized house and they live on the beach and go surfing before work. That's what everyone talks about. I didn't move into a flat with other people. I had a house with my partner. Gisborne when we first moved here was a little bit tricky to find a rental. I think it's a lot easier now and there's a big push to build some more houses in town. I'm not sure what the average cost would be then, but I think we're paying kind of 600 to 700 a week for 3 to 4 bedroom houses, but I haven't had experience looking into just single bedroom places yet, but there's certainly things available I see on the Facebook pages.
Yeah, plenty of Facebook pages, Gisborne Rental and Accommodations. We've also got a local intranet buy and sell page that people are often posting rentals, rooms for rent. And then in the RMO unit, we often get emailed a lot of rentals that are coming up as well. So everybody's happy to help you out to find accommodation.
Yeah, I don't think anyone had issues this year. And there's also the hospital accommodation. So if there is like that period when you just start.
Yeah, so the first 3 weeks we do offer hospital on-site accommodation, subject to availability, and it's normally a shared flat, 4 or 5 bedrooms in it. We can offer that.
I need to know a little bit more about what orientation week could look like.
Orientation week is a big week for everybody. We've just recently this year brought back the marae stay. So on the Friday night, go out to one of our local maraes and stay at the marae and cover the Te Tiriti o Waitangi and the tikanga best practices out there. What did you find?
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that was a great end to the week. Yeah, it was beautiful out at Wahiriri. Yeah.
Your computer access and how to work the computer clinical portal, getting a talk from the pharmacy about, making sure you fill out drug part charts properly, and, different departments telling you how their systems work. Get a talk from the GPs about how they like their discharge summaries done.
I think also during the orientation week, there's times we spend on the ward buddied with house officers, but then also this seemed a little bit unique compared to some colleagues that work in other centres, but there are quite a few buddy shifts. So on the first out of hours, well, not the first, quite a few of the weekends and the first long days, you're not completely by yourself. They pair you up with other people, and then you don't feel completely alone there. So you get buddied quite a lot into the after hours shifts, which is quite reassuring for quite a few people.
Is there any expectation that a site visit would be required prior to application?
No, I would say it's not an expectation. If you look at it from our point of view, we're hiring 11 people, and we have to look through 120 applications. So that's 120 CVs and 120 cover letters. So the people that stand out to us are people that we have seen or met. And I don't think that means you have to come here, but certainly if you're here as a TI, or if you're here as a medical student, or even if you've come from here, these sort of things tend to stand out for us. Situations we really try to avoid is when we send out all our applications, and on an occasion on the past we've thought, oh yeah, well, these people all seem keen, and then we get 2 of them actually take the jobs. Then we've got all these vacancies, and we're desperate to try and fill them on the second round, and that's a very nervous time for us, because if we don't fill them, then our hospital doesn't work. So we get kind of desperate. So we like to know that the people who we're offering the jobs to are going to come. And I guess if we've met them and they've told us they really want to come, then that means a lot to us.
So just on that, would you suggest that, you mentioned there's a number of applications you receive. So if they're not able to, come and visit as such, not that it's expected, what would be another way besides just the application? Would they be able to reach out to the RMO unit with an email just to let you know that they're really keen and interested, or a phone call?
Yeah, the RMO unit, we're more than happy to take those calls or emails. Like if you're interested, you've put your application in, you're really interested, and for whatever reason can't make it down here, it is a big trip and quite far away from wherever you may be. Myself and Brenda would love to hear from you.
What sort of food is available on site? So what does the cafeteria offer, and does it obviously offer for different dietary requirements?
So there is always a vegetarian option, I think, every day at lunch and dinner. Yeah, and there's sandwiches and cabinet food, and then there's a hot meal at lunch, which is a vegetarian or not option. They've recently been selling salads. I think that their signature dish is the muffin. There seems to be a different flavoured muffin every single day. Yeah, it's a small cafe, but I think it's reasonable food. I've been eating it for 14 years. It's okay.
At lunchtimes, if you've got dietary requirements, they do have a sheet printed out in the cafe of the hot meals and all the ingredients listed in them. So if you do have dietary requirements, you can look at that. Yeah, there's a new muffin and a new scone each day. And at about 9:30, it gets posted on the intranet. So you can have a look and see what flavour it is for the day.
What was the Auckland Otago split for the PGY1 intake for 2026?
Predominantly Otago, but there are a few from Auckland. I guess it's because Otago does have send students here for training. Yeah.
There's definitely a few in your year that have come through Auckland, good chunk through Otago. I think in my year it was slightly heavier weighted on Otago. I think there were only one or two from Auckland.
I really, really do appreciate your time in sharing all this information. It really does give our graduates a really great insight into the culture and the working culture and what's on offer. So thank you so much. On that note, I will hand back to you, Robbie, to close us off with a karakia. But before I do that, if there are any questions that you may have that might pop up after this session today, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. My details are available on the ACE RMO website. I'm available on my phone or email if it's anything to do with the ACE RMO application process. And Monique, is it okay if they reach out to the RMO unit as well if they have any questions about working at Gisborne? The employer information details are also available on the ACE RMO website. So please feel free to send any questions that you may have after today's session. Thank you again for your time and for attending. It was really a lovely, enjoyable webinar. So thanks so much.
Te taua mai I runga, te taua mai I raro, te taua mai I roto, te taua mai I waho. Kia tau ai, te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa. Haumi e hui e taiki e.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you.